Live with breaking news. This is News 4.
Hello, I'm Alan Frio, and we are breaking into programming for some breaking news. And just a terrible situation unfolded this morning at a church in Antioch. It happened at the Burnett Chapel Church of Christ in Antioch. 8 people were shot there. 7 have been wounded.
A gunman arrived in the parking lot. One woman who was walking to her vehicle was immediately fatally wounded by the gunman, who we believe then entered the rear of the church. Other persons were still inside the church building. The gunman opened fire on them. Multiple rounds were fired inside the church.
Apparently, 2 of those victims are in critical condition. They were either shot in the chest or in the torso, and the rest, the 4 other victims, apparently are in stable condition with non-life-threatening injuries. We were told that those people were shot in the extremities, so that means the arms or the legs, but the good news is that they have non-life-threatening injuries. We have also been learning that one of those people who is suffering from non-life-threatening injuries is the suspect himself. We know right now that he is a 26-year-old African-American male.
The guy came from the right side of the church, and he was just shooting. He came right to the middle and shoot more.
Could you see his face, and what kind of gun did he have?
He had a mask.
It's just the most devastating, horrific, mind-blowing thing. I'm still in total shock. I just can't believe that it's really happened.
A 25-year-old Murfreesboro man now under arrest. Police say he walked into a church in Antioch and opened fire. A young woman from Smyrna has been killed, and 7 others, including that gunman, were hurt.
The gunman himself has already been released from the hospital, and he will be booked this evening with murder and several other very serious crimes. It's been an unbelievable afternoon here. Imagine the families. It's been 6+ hours since word of the shooting came out, and they still haven't seen their loved ones. In fact, the people you see behind us are still waiting for their mothers, fathers, grandparents to come out. They know they're okay, but they just want to hug them. Earlier today, we talked to one of the neighbors here about the young man everyone's calling a hero tonight, Caleb Engel. I wanted to share that comment with you.
Caleb, he's an outstanding young man. He's about 22, super tall. He's about 7 foot, I think, and he's real broad in the shoulders. Just an outstanding young man, even before today. But today just proved his character.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise you at all that
No, it doesn't, not one bit.
Do you think he saved some lives?
Oh yeah, I'm sure he did, and that's in his nature. That's who he is, so I'm not surprised at all.
And police tell us that Caleb Engel has a handgun carry permit. In fact, after he struggled with the gunman, he went out and got his own weapon, came back in, and perhaps during the scuffle, that's when the gunman himself was shot. Again, police expect to bring him through the court system this evening to be arraigned on these charges. Let's go now to Alana Altman.
Loved ones have been gathering here at Vanderbilt University Medical Center all day, coming through that door right over my shoulder. This is where we've seen emotional, tearful embraces all day long. And inside the hospital, 5 victims are still being treated for their injuries, including 60-year-old Joey Spann, the minister of Burnett Chapel Church of Christ. He is in critical condition at this hour, and his wife, 65-year-old Peggy Spann, is listed in stable condition.
Well, it looks as if the family members are finally being led to their loved ones who are going to be released after 6+ hours in the church ante-building here, a side building. So we'll be back with some of these reunions. They're happening right now.
Tonight, tragedy unfolds at a place of worship.
And it's just the most devastating, horrific, mind-blowing thing to know that that's my family, that this has happened to.
A man walks into a church and starts shooting.
Multiple rounds were fired inside the church.
One person is dead, 7 others injured, including the gunman.
No, he was like this.
Right here where you see the barrier tape, we saw families hugging, crying, people saying, I can't believe what's happened. I should say the authorities have asked us, and we're complying, not to interview the people who were witnesses, at least not just yet. We've seen a couple of cars come out. Slowly but surely people are leaving. There have been chaplains and grief counselors here today to help the people who have gone through such a life-changing experience here in the sanctity of a church. I think you can see some of the raw emotion that people were just so relieved to see their loved ones, their grandparents and parents, and that, after all that's happened today, was really a sight for sore eyes.
From the pastor of this church to a single mother of 2 children, there are families either anxiously awaiting news on status updates for health, or they're beginning to mourn. And unfortunately, a family friend has confirmed that Melanie Smith Crow, a single mother of a 12-year-old and 19-year-old, was shot and killed. Her friends are already beginning to mourn her on her Facebook page. Her first Facebook page shows she went to Hillwood High School. And I spoke to a family friend who describes her in this way.
A humble, sweet person that loved her family.
All right, now we need to get to the victim who leads that church. Pastor Joey Spann and his wife Peggy were both injured in the shooting. It turns out we have done a story on Pastor Spann in the past. In 2011, he was coaching for Good Pasture Christian School and had a heart attack. Witnesses jumped in and saved him, and he expressed his thanks and showed his good humor at a council meeting to recognize the people who saved his life.
If it weren't for these people right here, I would be in heaven right now. So I don't know if I'm grateful or not to them, but I am grateful to them.
It's just the most devastating, horrific, mind-blowing thing.
We got a possible 6 victims. The suspect is down, suffering a gunshot wound.
I was like, I don't even know if my family's alive anymore. So I just started busting out, crying.
As soon as we heard that he was okay, we just started crying even more.
The man suspected in a church shooting in Antioch, charged now with murder. Emmanuel Sampson is in jail tonight. 1 person is dead, 6 others were hurt when a gunman opened fire. News 4's Demetria Kaladimas was the first reporter on the scene today. She joins us here now.
Well, Tracy, it was supposed to be a Sunday of celebration. The Burnett Chapel Church of Christ just held a huge yard sale yesterday to raise money for their children's Bible camp. But this bright Sunday morning would take a dark and evil turn.
He was just shooting.
Minerva Rosa was in the sanctuary as services were about to wrap up. They had been studying Luke chapter 8 about miracles and the healing of a bleeding woman. With blood stains on her blue dress, she tried to explain what happened. Were people running or were they just crouching on the ground?
That's the thing. Our church, mostly senior people, they was running in when he came and started shooting from behind. Yeah.
Did you hear it first or see it first?
I hear him first. It was, so fast. He don't talk. He just keep holding the hand like they're going like this and, like moving like this.
Sarah Griggs's daughters were in the church. They called her panicked but all right, saying Pastor Joey Spann, though he would end up shot, had the instinct to warn the others.
Joey waved his hand when he realized what was going to happen and said run. People were just running and hiding and trying to get away.
The gunman was wounded by a self-inflicted shot.
Police now know that shooter, Emmanuel Sampson, had 2 guns. He tried to hide his face with a neoprene ski mask, and he had a getaway plan, or so it seemed.
His vehicle was parked beside the church, and when the police department arrived, it was still running.
Once police learned his identity and shared it with the survivors, there was shock.
They did not know who it was until they heard the name, and some of them gasped when they heard the name and said that he used to go here, and they said a year or 2 ago.
There was a lot of weight and worry in the hot sun today and wondering what this world has come to.
I grew up and this was like a gravel road. And so when you've got all the people, crime, I don't know what the shooters' motives were. I have no idea.
People can't go in a church and worship in peace and that people are so full of hate that they will shoot other people. I don't understand that.
I just live right here, so those people mean a lot to me and my family. So they were there during the loss of my husband. And yeah, love them all. It's a very sad day for everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
The News 4i team has been digging into Sampson's past and found he posted a cryptic message just before the shooting. Our chief investigative reporter, Jeremy Finley, has what he's uncovered.
This is what accused church shooter Emmanuel Sampson likes to post on social media, himself and a lot of it. Using the name Almighty Physique on Instagram, it is clear he is proud of his body. What is unclear is why he posted this just before the shooting at Burnett Chapel Church of Christ in Antioch. On his Facebook page, he wrote, "Everything you've ever doubted or made to be believe as false is real, and vice versa," and the letter B. Look at his social media, and you'll find mostly positive statements. His favorite book, the Bible. A longtime friend of Sampson's tells me he's stunned that Sampson never gave an inclination of violence. On his Facebook page, Sampson writes he attended Smyrna High School, studied psychology at Mott Community College in Michigan, and is from Sudan. Tonight, a source within the federal investigation tells me there's a real reason they are pursuing a civil rights lawsuit. It means they have evidence or a motive that indicates that the people shot were targeted while they were worshiping, and that the motive should be revealed within days. I'm Jeremy Finley for the News 4i team.
Again, we want to remind you tonight, Sampson has been charged with murder. His bond hearing just a few hours ago was short. Police did say they would be announcing more charges in the near future.
The 22-year-old Engel is here at Skyline Medical Center recovering from his injuries tonight. He is listed in stable condition. Now, according to police and witnesses at the scene, Caleb Engel, who is an usher at the church, confronted Emmanuel Sampson shortly after the shooting began. The two got into a scuffle, and Engel was pistol whipped by the suspected shooter. During that scuffle, Sampson shot himself in the chest, and it was at that time that Engel, who does have a carry permit, went out to his car, got a gun, came back inside the church, and held Sampson at gunpoint until authorities arrived. When complimented about his heroism, Engel said, quote, "I do not want to be labeled a hero. The real heroes are the police, first responders, medical staff, and doctors who have helped me and everyone affected." He also said, quote, "I've been going to this church my whole life. I would have never, ever thought something like this would have happened." Engel also asked for prayers for not only the victims, but for the shooter and the shooter's family, saying, quote, "They are hurting as well." His fellow churchgoers say that Engel is an outstanding young man, and today only proved his character.
And we heard 3 gunshots, and then somebody said, "Shut the door, shut the door."
Jeremiah Reese has gotten stern instructions before, but he's never heard someone so serious in his life.
A police officer said, "Stay in here, it's gonna be okay." And then it came again and said, we gotta go. And I ran and my leg twisted, and then it just started popping. And I was like, okay, I cannot walk no more.
The pain wasn't the first thing on Jeremiah's mind.
I do not know what to do. I don't know if my family's alive yet, so I'm just freaking out.
He says he saw the woman who lost her life lying in the parking lot, and then he became even more worried.
I was like, I don't even know if my family's alive anymore, so I just started busting out, crying.
Jeremiah was in pain, both physically and emotionally. Thoughts were racing through his head.
Because I wanted to do something about it, but I couldn't.
People were everywhere. It was chaotic and noisy. Then it all cleared.
When I realized they were alive, I just started like pouring out crying. And that's like, I know I'm 10, I'm supposed to be tough, but I just couldn't hold it in.